So we're still waiting on the code study to come back, to get all the results and everything, and take a look at that. Another thing we're working on is going through, and implementing a lot more buoys on the lake. There's 50-ish that they're looking to place out to that, 200 feet area more, and figuring out a way to properly have the right, the right passages through different areas, because if you are gonna put all those 50 buoys out, that's gonna additionally close off different areas of the lake. So we're going through, trying to figure that out. We're gonna have a meeting where we actually went out on the boat, but just because of local meetings, we weren't able to do that. We were advised not to. So I believe we're gonna be working on that, to kind of get people a little bit more knowledgeable about what 200 feet offshore really is, and 100 feet off of, any, rafts or anything like that. That was, I mean, adding, it's because there's approximately, like, with the ones that we have out there already, we're at least 70, I think it's 73 or so buoys that are out there currently. The other problem that we see is some of those aren't in the right position either, so what would it take? And if we put those in proper positions, is that gonna create, without other buoys, is that gonna create a bigger problem? So, something that we're going through, we're definitely looking for some advice from DNR, or something with, I don't know, on Potter's Lake, we were talking about, if you guys know, like, who pays for their buoys, that sort of thing as well. That's, I mean, that was, I mean, most of what we ended up talking about this week.
I have two things. You said Terra Vigilis is gonna be presenting on the 16th, is that true? It is.
Okay.
I was talking to you this room at television.
I know, but I heard that we preempted you.
It actually, I was gonna get back to this week today. You guys can have this room, we will take the courtroom, and she can present on computer with the.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We're
We
only,
should have to break rooms.
See how nice we are?
we're only eight people.
I'll talk to Lisa tomorrow and confirm everything. So you'll be good to be in this room on Monday.
And you.
Yep.
Can,
And Blacktop?
can I offer a couple of comments? I've been working with, Officer Runby and, Jason Roberts down at the DNR. We got some information back actually this morning, late breaking news. One thing I did was on Potter's Lake, we have something like 30 to 35, 32, 33 buoys around there. I did a quick little calculation on Google Maps, and it came out to be like 250 apart from each other. Well, the DNR has said he felt that less is more, both on an aesthetic aspect and the cost of buying the place and placing the buoys. He said it is the boater's responsibility to know what is slow, no wake within 200 feet of shore. He did say that he would probably, if you put one every 250 feet, he probably wouldn't approve it. So what he talks about is line of sight. So if you got a lot of bends, put one at the peak and not put some, it looked crowded when I saw the map, but, so just some guidance from them. They are he's very helpful, at Jason Roberts. So, that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, no, pardon.
Go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for your first report, I appreciate it. I was just wondering if the buoys, were marked differently, if the depth of the water was different.
So that's all conversations that we had.
Okay,
Because you can mark your buoys, slow no wake, you can mark them stumps, you can mark them all the different hazards. So
Okay.
that was a part of our discussion,
okay,
and we haven't came to exactly
a consensus.
a
on that.
consensus on what and how and where. I mean, like, because of some of the guidance buoys that are going down channels, stuff like that. So what I mean, feel is it's getting pretty complicated. I mean, it's not just as easy as going down, all that 200 feet off. Because you end up pinching areas, there's more to it.
Are you guys using a tool to designate 200 feet so that it's the same everywhere?
So, I mean, are you talking about installation? So like if you're doing, so we're just looking at the map right now. So that was what we were trying to do, was to go out on a boat. Because with seeing it, it's a little bit different than when you're taking a look
Right,
at one.
from the land out or from the water?
And yes, I mean, and truthfully, when Stu's placing them, I know he does them from the water to the land. And he's just shooting with, rangefinder.
Rangefinder?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and that's, I mean, which makes sense, but I also think it's interesting to hear what the DNR has to say about it,
Right.
to take those things. Right now, we've been looking at maps and kind of placing them on GPS maps, trying to figure out what makes sense and go from there. And what we were thinking is it would have been great to be able to go out there because it's gonna be a little bit different than sitting in and looking at a GPS map.
So are we saying that 200 feet out
Or-
in is all slow and awake then? Is that what we're going
What
here?
our ordinance.
Is that what it is now?
And there is already an ordinance.
So I was just gonna say, thank you, because I have heard that was a concern about buoy placement, so thank you to the district for looking into that and through the details and making corrections where possible.
And then the other thing was the permitting side of it, so, and we're, some lakes aren't permitting, some are permitting, and we're trying to figure out exactly how to navigate that as well.
In regards to that, who controls what, I know that there are individuals who have their own buoys and put them 200 feet out. But I know the DNR also requires the buoys to be permitted. Whose responsibility is it to know that a buoy has been permitted? And what happens if a buoy is not permitted?
From what I have heard, there's very, very loose. There's not really.
But I can offer, for Potter Lake, the district pays for buoys, for maintaining. We had, I think, 2 last year that were damaged, so we had to get 2 more. So the district buys the buoys, and we've had, complete piers put them in. One of the things that it's a company, yeah, so we contract them to do it. One of the problems with it is,
Somebody's phone.
oh, okay. Wow, that is very weird. One of the problems with it is all the pier companies don't have a, GPS device. One of the things Jason Roberts suggested was put maybe home addresses near them. They don't have to be specific. I mean, you gotta try the best you can to put them where they're supposed to be. But it's not like somebody's coming in and putting a pole up and measuring it and saying, you're out of compliance, I'm gonna fine you. I don't see that happening. One of the main reasons for permitting is the Lake District should take control of the buoys first. Because what happens is then when Jason gets permits, he compares them to what's going on around there, and he can say, oh, that's out of line, he knows to come back to you and things like that. When we talked with him, my wife and I both have been in contact with him. I think the last permits that he had was in '74 or something. And he just said, it's not that we don't want them, it's just no one's ever kept up on it. So I think it's a benefit to the Lake District to permit them, just so you can have control of the lake, and that's, I think, where it should be, should lie there.
Quick question for you, what does complete charge you?
Oh, I don't know.
$1,400. $1,400 approximately. Sorry.
The 30.
For how many?
About 48, I think, 47, 48.
More expensive than The thing is, we can pinpoint who's gonna be needed.
Right, but depending on who, if you can do that, then do it. If you can't and you're doing it with a peer service, you're gonna be all over the map. It's a challenge. I didn't mean to get into a lot of topic, but it was good discussion, I think, for helping, what you're trying to go through right now. So, thank you.
Thank you guys.
A quickie could be phase one.
The
Now,
district,
or the
the district, we do with Potter's Lake, the district phase one, and for replacements. So. Okay, recycling.
Yes, I have something. Tonight's subject is the announcement of the 2025 recycling grants to responsible units. And, the award to the responsible unit, each town of East Troy, this year is $14,820.40. So that's the amount we received. And I would like to have a special thank you to the town clerk, Kim Buchanan, for her diligence in compiling the data necessary for this grant application.
Every year.
Yes, every,
Thank you.
Thank you both, thank you both, yeah.
that's all.
That's all for recycling. Library?
Yes, so the library, a little bit longer tonight. And, this is the East Troy Lions Public Library update. The East Troy Lions Public Library Board of Trustees is looking to address the shortcomings of their current facility. Most pressing, the building is a split level with only stair access to the programming space. Our library is also undersized for serving communities with our population, thereby limiting collections and activities. After interviewing 3 architectural firms, the library board has selected Hamel, Green, and Ibbotson Incorporated, from now on noted as HGA, to assist in determining the community needs. HGA has extensive experience working on library projects. On June 2nd, Director Tammy Bartoli presented a PowerPoint program to the Village of East Troy trustees about the future library needs. President Christina Murphy and trustee Mary Nugent of the East Troy Library Board made additional comments in requesting the release of impact fees in order to study space needs, space planning, a site test fit, conceptual design, and cost estimates. The East Troy Village Board voted unanimously to approve the release of up to $45,000 from impact fees to begin this work. And that concludes the report.
Any questions from the board? All right, planning commission, Supervisor John.
Planning Commission convened June 4th. We had one topic. It was to approve a certified survey map for Carl and Becky Wolf. Michael Greason is the applicant. They are taking a 30.36 acre lot that is zone C2 into 3 5-acre lots and 1 outlot of remaining 15.18 acres. It was passed unanimously at the Planning Commission. So, I would like to make a motion to approve the Planning Commission's recommendation to approve a certified survey map for PA 132000001, across from W 7683 Town Line Road, Carl and Becky Wolf.
Have a second?
Per the reasons listed in the resolution approval petition.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, we're on to 9, unfinished business. And I think Supervisor
Yes, I've, included the social media, policy for the town board. I don't know if anyone had any questions on this. If not, I guess I would,
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
go ahead.
When you say that this policy requires entire board, are we saying unanimous then? Is that,
Majority,
okay, so it's majority and not entire board?
it's a,
I thought.
Might I interject, like the policy, once approved by a majority, would apply to all town board members.
No, I thought I thought I read where it required the entire board's permission to use the letterhead.
members of the town board will not be allowed to post, comment, represent on any subject using town letterhead, town material without the consent of the majority of the board.
So
That's
it's
number
entire town.
6.
Okay, I think I might have been reading something else. I read a different draft or something.
Oh,
It's on the agenda.
Oh.
Says entire. That's incorrect.
is there anything else?
Oh, it says on the agenda. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I have, what are you quantifying as town material?
Letterhead, any representation of town documents, letterhead.
Okay.
I just wanna make sure that no one's just putting stuff out there without
Right.
our consent, cause if someone gets disgruntled or something and wants, at least we have some action now.
I get that. And the last one is, if I wanna send an editorial to thank Mr. Holly and the students for their work at the Jim Burns Memorial Park, is that something I have to bring before the board before I send it to the paper?
Yes.
You're sending
Yes.
a letter to the editor?
Unless you're doing it on your own, not representing the town board. You can do it on personally, but if you're representing us, then yes, you would have to.
This is exactly the issue I had. I gotta come before to get a proposal approved before I can go out and send it out and.
No, I understand, I just wanna make sure that I was clear on what needed to be done, so as the supervisor thanking people for working, I will write it and bring it to the board now.
I know that in the past, there was a question of who this was all going to include. The way that I have it written, it is only the town board.
You mentioned appointed officials.
Right, and appointed officials, so I didn't know, I know we had talked about the clerk and the deputy clerk at one point, but I don't think you guys are appointed, right? You're,
We are
you
It's
are,
got their one.
That's Janice.
and Jen's also. Well, I was-
Then you have to approve everything that goes on the Facebook page, anything that Jen puts on.
No, I think it's written.
Nothing already posted again.
This is drafted.
Well, it says,
I thought it was.
yeah, on the authorized staff or designated officials,
Yes.
may manage the official
May.
town social media.
Yeah, that's written in there, on the back page, section 5, number 1.
And Kim, Jean and Jen are authorized staff.
Alright,
For
I
the
was,
board, the Facebook
I
page,
didn't know I was gonna,
webpage.
maybe I'd let you do this yourself to make sure that everything.
I did look at
Did
it,
you
it
guys-
was,
Well, we have nothing to do with what goes on the Facebook page. At all. We don't,
But the town,
But
but
Jen
the
does.
town page,
Agenda,
the website, right?
so,
agendas,
and then
minutes.
you have
notices.
the authority to hand out letterhead and all that.
And this is,
But I don't. parameters for communication, we have sent out letters. We notices for people that have not met that statutory requirement of not just weed
But that's on
control.
social media
Right.
anyway.
Right, but it's in a letterhead, so. it's-
And I thought the intent of this was for outside social media, not town social media.
Correct.
So it's for informed citizens, East Troy Lions. No, I'm just saying, when we go out, if we're elected or appointed officials, and we go out and we want to express our personal opinion, we have to say this does not reflect the town board at all, and otherwise don't comment, and I choose not to comment. That's the safest way not to get in trouble.
Kind of what this.
That's what this is
Trying
for.
to be able to, this is just for social media.
Social media, that's what it says up top.
So I don't know, do we need a motion to approve this policy?
If it's gonna become a policy of the board for the town, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the town of East Troy Board social media policy as presented.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. So it's a policy, it's not a ordinance, it's not a resolution, it's just a policy. Okay, second page. Request from Eric Jones, of W 4774 Overlook Drive, Elkhorn, to land and take off a seaplane on Lake View.
Michelle?
You,
You
yeah,
want to
you,
do anything?
yeah,
Okay.
you
Alright.
actually put it on.
Oh, I think so.
I picked it up from the last public comments. Somebody made a comment, it wasn't being dealt with, so asked if the group wanted to bring it back, and Michelle said yes.
So, yeah, and I had to go back and look at the history as well, so we did vote, I believe it was in January, against the seaplane. At the time, the motion was to simply authorize, Mr. Jones to be able to use his seaplane on Lake Eula without any restrictions. And in order to like get the conversation moving again and make a decision one way or another. That was rejected, but there was discussion about, well, maybe if there were restrictions added, it must be a different vote. But there was no motion at that meeting to add any restrictions. And then, that was part of Mr. Jones' original request, was to include restrictions. And then it was added to the annual meeting in April. And my recollection was that then Mr. Jones actually asked that it be removed from the annual meeting, but it had already been posted, so it was too late to do that. And that was kind of where I thought things were left, that he had actually, asked for it to be removed. But then when he found out it couldn't be removed, then he said, well, then I'd like to consider these restrictions, which included, the seaplane would only be used for personal sightseeing and resident visitation flights only. No commercial operations, no flight training, no air taxi operations. Landings, are described as where the aircraft comes off plane floats and settles into the water to taxi to the destination. There would not be any touch and go operations. Float plane operations to be conducted Monday through Friday, only between the hours of 10 a.m. and sunset. No operations to occur on the weekends or holidays. Operations would only be upon the waters of Lake Beulah, known as Long Lake and Beulah, the main lake. And on-plane operations on the surface of the water, defined as the landing or the party, are only to be conducted with at least 200 feet of lateral clearance to any shoreline obstacle, swimmer, or watercraft already on the surface, and there's no high-speed taxi to be allowed. So it was formally presented to the town board on April 14th to consider. There was a vote at the annual meeting, so
was the vote again?
94 no, 32 yes.
Thank you. So, any discussion?
Yeah, I have some. One of my first problems with this is that I personally can't say yes to a single pilot and then say no to anybody else that comes. And we are already talking about the lake being congested with different types of usage. And I think a seaplane coming overhead is a distraction for people on the water. Our applicant is not a resident of the town of East Troy. The first item on his letter is personal sightseeing. Is this a business? Does that have other requirements that surround a business? There is an airport within close proximity to the lake. That has a controlled landing and takeoff space. I think that eliminates problems. I know he says he's safe, but what about the B, C, and D pilots who then apply? I don't know everybody's background. With the added buoys, does that cause a problem? I mean, I don't know how far the plane needs to travel and whether or not the additional buoys that we're putting on the lake for other reasons will impact that. And, what kind of insurance does he carry for this activity? I would like to see a high insurance policy so that the town is very well protected.
You had some thoughts.
Yeah, the board is going to restrict the area of the lake, rather than leave it open for wherever he wants to land. Then we are required to mark, and once you start marking, that does create some liability for the town that is not there where you're simply saying yes or no. But once you start restricting areas, you have to mark those areas. Therein lies potential liability. If we are negligently maintaining the marked areas, or whatever else they want to allege was not done correctly.
Should we not have a motion on this and then discuss?
You can have a discussion on it.
Oh, Ken?
I thought that's what
I-
Yeah, we were.
Yeah, I thought that we had to have a motion and then discuss, but I agree.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I agree with everything that Barb said. I don't, I think it's a safety issue. He's a non-resident, I don't think this is, good for our lake. Like Barb said, how do you say yes to one, and then, how many more are gonna come, how do you say no to those? There is an airport close by, within 5 minutes, that, like she said, has a controlled landing, so I agree with that, I am not for a plane landing on the.
Anyone else?
I think the resident, him not being a resident kind of weighs a lot on my decision too. If he lived on Lake Beulah, I would probably be for this. I know these, pilots go through quite a lot of training, but I mean, also at the annual meeting, I also have to consider it was a 32-94. And that's nothing against him, he's probably an excellent pilot, but I can't be for it.
Joe? Oh, I'm sorry.
Just a couple of points, as far as like being able to approve him as a pilot, I think that's what our ordinance requires, or the resolution, that it is a special permit, and so it's the option, right, and so you're gonna be approving a specific pilot, that's how we have it written. However, when he originally submitted his request, it was before the summer boating season, between Memorial Day and Labor Day, so I think that's a big factor. In addition to the fact that he's not, a town resident. So, yeah, I just think we need to, get a definitive vote on it.
I think we do today also. A couple comments that I have is approving one pilot is not a concern to me. Because we can establish very specific restrictions on that pilot. We can say, you need to jump these 18 hurdles in order to be approved. And we can say we only want one pilot approved if we want to, right? No?
It would be harder to do.
I'm just saying, we could put more restrictions on this than, it doesn't concern me, that part of it. What probably is more concerning is the lack of residency. I think also, there hasn't been a huge outcry to support it either. It's been pretty minimal, so, yes.
Before any sort of motion, you were not here when the board voted in January. Prior to that vote, I was asked to see if the DNR had any comment on it. The DNR is very reluctant, and it has been for several years, in giving any sort of official opinion. However, it was stated to me that on a lake like Lake Beulah, that has a lot of traffic already, to have boaters who have, these were his words, to have boaters that have their heads on a swivel already, he doesn't believe it's safe to have them wondering what's happening above them as well.
So does someone want to make a motion?
I will make a motion that we approve the, right, I have to make a positive
No,
motion.
you're not approving.
Deny the request.
I have to be a
Right, so
positive
we're
motion.
supposed
Has to be a positive
It
motion.
doesn't have to be, it's recommended. I think it's confusing as heck.
Yeah, it is.
And make a motion to
Trying
deny.
to do what I was, talking
Is
about.
my
Fine,
recommendation.
I make a motion that we deny the request from Eric Jones of W 4774 Overlook Drive and Elkhorn to land and take off a seaplane on Lake Beulah.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next on the list